Oh, let's get right into this. This is brand new news that was just released officially by the Social Security Administration via OIG. And what's happening is basically this. You have essentially the SSA finishing up its rotation of people that they're going to arrest we're talking about pre-DOGE arrests, pre-Elon Musk, pre-Trump presidency. Now, obviously, some of these people are coming to their final details, and some of you have been really aggressive with asking me and literally emailing the law firm, why don't these people get more severe punishments? It seems weird, right? Like if somebody goes and trespasses or somebody goes and steals this or steals that or whatever, it's like, they're going to spend some time in jail. You know what I mean? They're going to spend some time in jail. But with this type of crime, Social Security crime, we will often see very, very slight, very, very light punishments. I get it. I'm not a super Republican. I'm not a super Democrat. I tend to be, I'm a middle. I'm an independent. I tend to be a little bit more liberal than some of you. And then others, I can't touch you. You're so far left, like I can't even see that far. Like you're past the flickering light of a candle beyond the football field, So the bottom line is like, I guess what I would say is this. I've seen a lot of arrests for abuse of Social Security benefits. And all I can say is this, some of these crimes clearly deserve more prison time. The majority of them do. But some of them, I'm like, I get it. I do get it. And then it comes down to the question of how guilty are they? When they steal their parents', retirement check after the parent passes away and they bury their parent in the back, how hard do we want to hit them? I mean, they knew they were stealing a check. They knew they were doing the wrong thing. They knew it was intentional the whole way across. Do we put them in jail? Do we put them in prison? And the question then becomes, how do we get that person to pay back all that money? A lot of those people who play that game are in a desperate situation where they don't have money of their own. Many of them, they can't work because they're disabled, or honestly, some of them, they just don't work because they were in a caretaker mode and they coulda, shoulda, woulda worked, but they had to take care of a parent, and then the parent gets older and older, and then the excuse or the requirement that we would expect them to work slowly diminishes over time because obviously, right, the more the parent needs, the parent gets older, and a lot of us don't want to, have a situation where our parents end up in some facility or some home where they just suck their, Social Security check and give them a room and say, this is your time when you can go play in the general room and that's it. Well, a lot of us don't want that. And the reality to this whole situation, if I'm just really straightforward, if I'm really just honest with you guys, is that I feel like there are some really hardened criminals out there. Look, we got one right here, an immigrant situation. We're going to be seeing a lot of these because all those people that they were arresting, many of them that, could have potentially committed Social Security fraud, I bet will end up in the news because you better believe Trump's on a warpath to show that immigrants were not good for this country. Now, you guys know we need immigrants because the fertility rate is super bad in this country. We just don't have kids anymore because we can't afford to literally pay for them. Like we can't afford it. It's ridiculous. I don't know if you guys have looked up the stats on how much a child costs to raise in this country now. Absolute criminal insanity. Okay, here we go. Office of Inspector General, Social Security Administration. By the way, I know some of you guys are like, show me the facts. Just look it up. It's on their hot sheets. Don't be that one person that's like, I won't believe anything until I see the fact. It's on their way. It's on its official government website. Don't be that person. All right, Mexican national indicted for illegal re-entry into the United States by a removed alien and false representation of a Social Security number. Two questions I want you to ask yourself throughout this process, throughout this video. Number one, why was this individual able to get back into the country over and over and over again? Number two, how the hell did this person continuously get Social Security numbers that could be used? I'm just a little worried about strategically how we might be a bit of a sinking ship in this regard. Okay, let's get right into it. Here we go. April 7th, 2025, a federal grand jury recently returned a 3-count indictment charging Edgar Javier Castillo Rodriguez, age 53, of Mexico with illegal re-entry into the United States by removed alien and false representation of Social Security number. False representation of a Social Security number. Castillo Rodriguez appeared for his arraignment and pled not guilty to the pending charges, according to the court documents. Now, remember, he's in the beginning phase. He's not going to jail yet in this regard. Okay, we have other videos that we're going to be doing on people who do go to jail, but right now, arraignment, pled not guilty to pending charges. According to court documents, Castillo Rodriguez, an alien who had previously been removed from the United States on or around or about October 30th, 1996. 1996, okay? At or near Brownsville, Texas, and on or about November 6, 2000, at or near El Paso, Texas, was again found in the United States on or about October 29th, 2024, without having obtained the consent of the Attorney General of the United States or his successor, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. On October 29th, 2024, Castillo Rodriguez knowingly and falsely represented to the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office a Social Security number that had not been assigned to him by the Commissioner of Social Security. Is it just, you know what I mean? Like, how are they getting so many? Like, how are there so many people that just constantly have these like fraudulent Social Security numbers? And it's just like, I get that there's leaks. I get it, but it's like, it's frustrating for me. You know what I mean? It's frustrating. I guess that's what I'm saying. On April 21st, 2023, Castillo Rodriguez knowingly and falsely represented to a potential employer a false Social Security number and had not been assigned to him by the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration. This matter is being investigated by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Department of Homeland Security, Social Security Administration, Gonzales Police Department, Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, and Louisiana State Police, and is being prosecuted by Assistant United States Attorney Jeremy S. Johnson. This case is part of Operation Takeback America, a nationwide initiative that marshals the full resources of the Department of Justice to repel the invasion of illegal immigration and achieve the total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organizations, TCOs, and protect our communities from the perpetrators of violent crime. Note, an indictment is an accusation by a grand jury. The defendant is presumed innocent unless adjudicated guilty at trial or through guilty plea. So the point that I'm getting at here is, they have multiple similar offenses from this guy. Obviously still has to go through the final aspects of the criminal code of it. This is the kind of thing we're going to be seeing a lot of. Now, a lot of people have screamed, show me the proof when it comes to Elon. Show me the proof when it comes to illegal immigrants in this country. Show me the proof, yada, yada, yada. The hot sheets of OIG over the next 6 months are going to be filled, absolutely filled with people who de facto are abusing or have abused the United States. One thing that I find very interesting is when people seem to be very supportive of essentially people who come to this country, who use the services of this country without trying to become a legal immigrant of this country. Now, there are restrictions, there are limitations, etc. Yes, we as a country do limit criminal offenders from other countries coming into this country as immigrants. Yes, we expect you to come to this country, work, achieve. We hope that you have talents, etc. Yes, because we put those same requirements on our American citizens to achieve, pay taxes, and try and make a living. Now, one would think that America, which it's not, is no longer the land of dreams when it comes to the American dream, because a lot of people, especially in the millennial and under age groups, are starting to move out. They're starting to, get out of this country because it's very expensive, very expensive. I think what we need to realize with this is that the unfortunate part of the upcoming situation, when it comes to, I just read Charlton Zimmerman's I am Elon Musk's Huckleberry. That is, oh my God. I'm not into online gambling at all. No. So the point is this, the point is, unfortunately, we need immigrants because we now have a country that is completely devoid of being able to financially afford itself from its massive spending. And that's more, people blame. So I see Republican senators blaming Social Security, but let's be fair. Social Security is a paid for benefit mostly by the American people. It is. That's what you pay your FICA taxes. SSI, yeah, that costs the general taxes some money, but it's not like retirement. It's not like SSDI benefits. It's a little bit less than SSDI for sure. But, the bottom line is like, we paid for this. Now, where does most of our money go? It goes to our military. Is our military up to date and doing amazingly well? No. No, other countries like China are beginning the surpass of this category, that category, this category, that category. So the reality that we're dealing with at this point, when it comes to this situation, when it comes to the future of Social Security benefits, is that I'm worried because let's say, okay, let's big picture this thing. Let's assume that they find a way to audit the government and get it on track. Audit the Social Security Administration and get it on track. That's not what I believe they're doing right now. Right now, they're just mass terminating or retiring lots of people who know how this whole thing works. And to be very fair, Social Security benefits are extremely difficult to understand. The programs are very complex. There's a lot of ins and outs and caveats and rule changes and things like that. So the point that I'm getting at with this whole thing is, and I hope you understand it, I don't think we're rolling in the right direction with Social Security benefits. But I think that there are some things that they are floating around that I think they will start to allow the big media channels to promote. Now, you'll notice that places like Fox News have been very quiet about Social Security benefits. Other places that are promoting certain this, promoting certain that. And that's because it's hard for them to go ahead and validate what's going on with the Social Security Administration right now. It's just tough, right? When you got that many people leaving, systems are shutting down, systems are failing, the question becomes, all right, when are we going to see a benefit interruption to specific benefits? We're seeing benefit service interruptions, all the time now, all the time, back end, front end systems, all the time. So what this really comes down to for me is, okay, let's assume big picture, they get Social Security back on track. It can afford itself. They hyper automate it. They got AI systems. Let's assume they accomplish it. All right. Let's just assume that, this is a situation where they actually make it happen. I'm not saying they're gonna. I'm not saying they're gonna. What I'm saying is, let's just assume in a hypothetical world that they pull it off. We're still not the problem. The Social Security Administration is still not the problem. Yeah, it should more efficiently invest the money, have better return on investments for the American people. Yeah, sure. We get sovereign, trust funds, foreign sovereign trust fund, all that. Yeah, sure. But the main problem is our military. We just can't afford stuff. We can't. It's far too expensive. So the bottom line is at this point, and I just want to kind of get your brain working in the right direction. If it's really expensive for Americans to make things, and one of our, specific things that we make teddy bears, we make chocolates, and we make, firearms, and we make weaponry, right? That's what America makes. That's what we make, that stuff. If it's really, really expensive for America to make these things, okay? Like weaponry is not cheap. It's very, very, very expensive. But if we go ahead and look into this situation, we say, okay. Let's assume for a moment that at the end of the day, right, it's more expensive for Americans to make weaponry than it is for China. Well, if we look at the stats, if we look at the difference between these things, China should be very good at beating us at manufacturing war-related technology. Now, you might say, well, they were kicked out of the space station and the Hadron Collider and the blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but they're building their own versions and doing quite well. So my point to you is we have some big things coming in the not too distant future. Social Security is not the problem. A lot of people, Social Security benefits, that costs us so much money. You want to know what would be the boldest thing Trump could do? He could literally create Medicare for all. He could do that. Will he? No. And I'll say this. I know a lot of you are like, oh, the Democrats are going to destroy Trump. What's Trump going to do? The Democrats are not going to destroy Trump. No, they're in a weakened state right now. They were, somebody popped them in the nose. They're beat up. They're bruised. They're not doing great right now. And that's because of a lot of things. But the majority of things that hurt them the most are things that the average person can't get on board with. Okay. The requiring and forcing everybody to use certain pronouns or demanding that we have to customize our life to somebody else's life who demands that we accept them for this or that, or this or that. Most Americans that I talk to can't get on board with that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying that, everybody should try to be nice to everybody and be considerate to everybody. But it's hard to get on board with that for a lot of Americans. Now, you cross-example that against something like, let's take, for example, Social Security, and you look at all the things that it provides, right? Retirement, auxiliary benefits for kids, disabled adult child benefits, Social Security income benefits, Social Security disability insurance benefits, spouse benefits, widows benefits, 301s, all that stuff, right? How much of that do you think is the problem? Right? How much at the end of the day do you feel like what you mostly paid for is the problem? You're not going to hear many people saying that that's the main problem. But yet we're sold that that is the main problem. And that's weird. And people buy it. And I was sitting back the other day and I was thinking about it. I was just like, how the hell are they convincing people with this propaganda that Social Security is this weak thing? That it's this, we gotta improve, we gotta figure, oh god, yeah, we gotta do stuff to it. But it's not this thing that's like this creepy little crawly little monster that's like made it onto the bed barely and getting over to the pillow and it's gonna bite you on the shoulder. It's not. Social Security is massive. It's a hyper-funded trust fund system. It's incredibly massive. So I sat back because I had two people ask me today, what's going to happen to Social Security benefits in the future? What do I need to worry about? What's the worst that could happen? Also, Anna Hempel, thank you for the $2 donation. That's absolutely amazing. Let me put a little heart on that. Thank you. Very, very cool. A little heart right there for Anna Hempel. Very, very nice. So I guess what my point is when I sit back and I look at this stuff, let's say, okay, we look at what really needs to be fixed. Now, Trump is taking the cleaver effect. Nobody disagrees with that because they couldn't. You could not make a successful argument that he's not cleaving away massive parts of the federal government. There are entire administrations within the government that are going away. They won't exist anymore. Like over the next couple of months, those offices will be sold. They'll be gone. Somebody will buy the stone buildings. So my point to you is, all right, considering all this, right, at the end of the day, why Social Security and so many cutbacks right up front? Anybody thought about that? Okay, imagine Trump's timeline here. You got 4 years, right? 4 years to spread out the stuff that people are going to hate that you want to do, that people are going to be pissed off that you want to do. You got 4 years to spread it out, right? Because you don't want to throw cream cheese right in the beginning, right? You want to just spread a little bit of problems that people don't want to see, people don't want to deal with. You want to spread it out. Why all at once? Now, some of you will say he had to. The judges would stop him. The Democrats would stop him. 2 years from now, Democrats might take over the House and the Senate. I agree. All great arguments. All great arguments. But why Social Security? Anybody? Why does Social Security have to have so many employees reduced? Right? They were talking about cuts. We're supposed to find out this week how many new cuts they're going to make. How many new people are not going to go ahead and be able to get a tech person on the phone? How many people are not going to be able to go ahead and get an 800 phone number person on the phone? We were supposed to hear about cuts. We haven't heard about cuts yet because they're starting to roll back these cuts with the Social Security Administration. Here's my theory. I've thought about it a lot. I have not come to a conclusion that I like. I just haven't. I haven't come to a conclusion that I like. That's the reality. I don't know at the end of the day. I don't know. I don't know at the end of the day why this is happening. But I have a theory. My theory is it's not that socialism is super scary and Republicans are hyper anti-socialism. How many Republicans are on retirement benefits right now? A lot. A very, very large number of them. Okay. A very large number. Okay. So when you sit back, millions upon tens of millions. Okay. When you sit back and think about it, why do these politicians go after Social Security benefits so much? Miguel makes a good point. Please remember to hit the like button. Please give that like button a good hit. Subscribe if you want. My theory is that there is a logical disconnect between the levels of wealth and the characteristics that make up an individual's thought pattern. Some of you have never been homeless, so you don't know what it's like. So if you were to vote on something that would hurt homeless people, you'd be like, "Meh, is what it is." Hey, you know what I mean? I didn't see it, didn't know about it, is what it is. I work with the homeless all the time. I work with a lot of claimants that most attorneys won't touch, interact with, because they're not good paying claims. And also they tend to be grumpy or problematic when it comes to their emotional state with interacting with other people. It's part of why they're homeless. Did you ever think about the brain functional idea layering that occurs between essentially the wealthy, the upper class, the middle upper, the middle lower, the lower, the real low income, and the homeless? Think about it. If you were to have an idea, right? The idea would have a lot of little foundational things that would come off of it. And then you could layer more ideas on top of that idea. And you can start to see how there's a crossing of ideas and patterns. And you go down this, and then you go over here and then here and then here and here. You end up somewhere else. It is my firm belief that we have so many rich people in Congress that they have a complete disconnect, AOC and Bernie Sanders included, that they have a complete disconnect from the suffrage of the average American. Think about it. Let me give you an example. Let me say this. Imagine if you financially had enough money in the bank where for the rest of your life, you were covered. I don't mean $100,000. I don't mean $200,000. I don't mean $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's not covered. That ain't covered. If you're sitting there being like, yeah, I'm good. I got my shit together. I'm good. No. No, my little cupcake French barista. No, my little princess with dimple dots. No, I mean actually covered. 5 million, 10 million, 15 million in the bank. You're covered. Can any of you explain to me how your logic would change? Because your sight on things would not be about financial survival. It wouldn't. It would be essentially on coasting with opportunities taken that are the most advantageous for your low-hanging fruit mentality. You would take opportunities if they were cheap enough, but you didn't need them because you didn't need them. I really do believe that we need to have politicians that are poor. And I mean poor. And I mean poor throughout the whole damn service. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but you may have noticed some of the most anti-rich people, like the politicians that are hyper anti-rich. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they seem to be real effing rich. They seem to be multi-millionaires, multi-mansionaires rich. And I look at that as an attorney that, just came back from the farm shoveling manure, just came back from quite literally. I look at that and I guess what upsets me about it is that the people who build this country have nothing to do with the logical extensions of those people who govern this country. And, I get it. Like the House of Representatives is a cute filter to maybe one day becoming a senator. I get it. But have you noticed that the House of Representatives will pass this or pass that, but the Senate will just be like, get out of here. Never going to happen. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to push with that crap? The system is set up so that only the mentalities of the wealthy or the upper class can successfully change the patterns of our cultural existence as Americans. And that bothers me. Because if the poor people, the middle class, the working class, got to actually, make the rules, don't you think we'd be living better? I mean, how many of you are sitting there going, my standard of living has gone successfully down? Like, and I use that terminology specifically. It has successfully gotten worse because they have achieved making your standard of living, the amount of money you have to be able to survive, the amount of money that you have to buy things, the cost of things increasing. You need more money. Of course, you need more money. Of course, because we need to push you and force you into the world that requires you to work more. Does that not bother anybody? Because I break my ass every week and I'm never getting ahead in any meaningful way. And it's getting worse every generation. Every generation is just like, and the weirdest thing is like, and yeah, I get on boomers sometimes. I do. You know what I mean? And part of that is because boomers attacked all these younger generations as like these useless, how go, God, look at that. Oh my goodness. Yo, guys, buddy, who got rid of manufacturing in this country? Okay. Who mishandled the oil, the petrodollar? All right. Who created all these bad tariffs for the American people to begin with? Now, to be fair, the boomers have one good argument against that, which is that they had faith in their government. I don't know why y'all did, but you did. And I do remember back in that era, back in the 80s, 90s, kind of that whole era. Let's just call it the wind pants era. I like that. I think it's a strong option. If we go back to that, people trusted the politicians while they set up the most shitty international trade agreements ever known to humankind. America's been behind on everything. Y'all paid for that. So I guess from my perspective, the thing that bothers me is like, I work really hard and I'm getting angrier about it because I don't feel like there are enough politicians that have the mentality of the undercapable, of their next month isn't in the bank account. Like a lot of you guys, let me ask you, you can actually measure it. I was thinking about this the other day. You can actually measure it. Here's the bottom line. How many of you have enough money for 3 months from now, 2 months from now, 1 month from now, 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, 1 week from now? How many of you don't have enough money for tomorrow? How many of you have enough money for 2 weeks, but not a week and a half from now? How many of you are waiting for your check to come in to be able to survive? Because that doesn't sound like the American dream. That sounds like third world country shit. So I guess my point is, why I'm so upset about it is that I don't understand how we got to this point where we're only putting rich people in charge. And it's both sides. It's both sides. You don't think the governor of California is wealthy? Go look it up. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is a benchmark. She's a pillar of this. And the sad part is too, just to be clear, like, I love this country. This country is amazing. I've been to other countries. When I was studying law, I took classes over in Europe as part of their like summer yada yada thing so that I could see the place. Cause I knew I didn't know if I'd have money in the future with the student loans and all that stuff, yada yada. Let me tell you, I haven't been to Europe obviously since then because it's money, very expensive. My point to you is this. How many of you believe that your mental choice categories, like how you weave to a decision, is different than what a rich person would achieve? I would say every single one of you. Every single one of you. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment you had enough money in the bank, not just for next month, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, for the next 100 years. Just imagine 100 years, enough money in the bank, you're covered. You don't have to do any investment stuff. You don't have to swap money from different accounts. You don't have to sell stocks. You don't have to buy. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to do anything at all. All you've got to do is survive. How would that change your mental dynamic? How would it change it? And the reason why this is interesting to this situation is that essentially at the end of the day, it's like the rich are laughing at us because we're over here hoping that they can protect our social security numbers, even though they get massively stolen and end up on the dark web. We're over here working our butts off to continue to pay FICA taxes. And they're making choices from the most comfortable seat on planet Earth, which is a bank account full and a fridge completely filled with the stuff that is now outrageously priced. I don't know. I just get upset about it because I know this. We could choose a poor person, but the billionaires control the investment for the party's capability to go ahead and be successful. And here's how you know it. When a party or a person has to open up, right, for special donations just from the American people without utilizing billionaire donations, when they do that, they always lose because they can't get enough money. We've essentially placed ourselves in a political union where we allow the billionaire class to just keep voting in people who essentially benefit their line of logic, and then at the end of the day blame Social Security benefits for costing America too much. That's some weird logic. How did we get this deep? I don't know. Anna Hempel said bored and on drugs like the rich. Yeah, let me tell you something too, and I think this is kind of important. The rich, just so you guys understand, some of them have special rooms in their house that people can't access unless they know they're there, where they do all that stuff. And they're set up with all the devices and the special tub and all that stuff. I remember making a video about that and explaining it. And people were like, that's not how it works. That's not how you use that stuff. And they didn't get it because they were poor users. Poor users don't mix stuff and buy lots and have it all and try different cocktails. They don't, because they can afford like what they can get for that week, for that time. I was just thinking about that. How our brains are essentially, we're just trained to lose and accept it. And the best part of it is, man, they sell us hope. Like that shit is, a street drug. It's terrible. Like, you ever sit back and think about that? Like all the medications coming from all the hospitals, all the medications coming from the pharmacies, all the medications coming from the C300 guy driving up and down the street. You ever think about that? Is it not weird that we have so many people with anxiety and their fix is, essentially medication, but we don't have a literal... I mean, look, can I ask you guys something? Imagine if we hired a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a behavioralist for America. Like we just had a medical professional assess the mental landscape of America. You know what we would find, right? We would find that America is led basically by a psychopath type of mentality, because they'd have to ignore a lot of the people's needs to create the thing that they have. That's just the way it is. It's the only way you can get there. Like there's no other way you can get to that. What we have, you'd have to ignore a lot of people's needs to get to where we are. And then if the behavioralist would look at this and say, okay, well, clearly we have to change essentially the way America perceives Americans' needs. We would say, okay, so Americans need utilities. How do we make that a forefront, a focal point of our investments? Americans need healthcare, a forefront, a focal point of our investments. Instead, what we got is basically military conquest, mineral rights. I don't know. That would be interesting. I think we should hire a psychologist and a psychiatrist to audit the federal government. I think we should do that. I think that's a reasonable thing. Everybody's depressed and has anxiety and panic attacks. I don't think it's unreasonable to check in with why the system makes us that way. I know a lot of you guys, I know a lot of veterans that are sitting back that are upset about, what they've been through and things like that. And yeah, veterans get the better check, and yeah, I get it. And they get the GI Bill, and I get it. Some of you are like, I get $600 a month, and they get this many thousands and all these, and the loan option. I get it. But do you ever sit back and think, even our veterans don't end up usually at the end of the day being super soldiers of society in a civilian landscape. I mean, they got all the training to be it. They should be the super CEOs, right? They should be the ones that are like kings of capital, queens of capital, like running major corporations left and right. Yeah. So Lifted 222 said, and I'm a vet and it's not worth it. Believe me. I know it. I know it because I represent vets and I talk with them all the time. They do those 1 hour private sessions with me, especially for Social Security benefits. And, it's just like, I don't get it. But I would like to get a second medical opinion from a mental physician on our country as a patient. I'm all for it. I think we can learn a lot from it. I really do. Because at the end of the day, I'm so sick and tired of hearing people sell to me Social Security is the problem. It's like the one socialist program we have that people pay for. So is it really socialist? Yeah, we take the money from them. They don't get a choice. They have to work and they got to pay it. So that makes it socialism because there's no intent to pay it. Yeah, okay, it's socialism. I get it. But is it weird that the people we put in charge of the one thing that keeps us alive when we're disabled or elderly, that they bankrupted it to the point where now the trust funds are going to run out and then people are going to get less and less and less so that they can't afford the rent or mortgages? Like, how the hell did we get to that point? I'm amazed. I'm amazed we have so many politicians who every day do not bring up Social Security benefits. You could fix any situation. You could win every election if you just made a bunch of bullet points of successful things to do to fix the SSA to increase the benefits of what people would receive. You would win every election. You would win everything from a House seat all the way to the President of the United States. It's just weird and it's upsetting. And I don't know the direction that you guys are at, but I feel like Democrats and Republicans, the Democrats say raise the cap. Well, the billionaires aren't going to allow that. And the Republicans say make it more efficient so we can afford it. Well, Republicans, you're supposed to be capitalist monsters that can rock ROIs, make lots of money, return on investment, boom, 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 big stuff. This shit, you just became a shitty investor when it came to our money? Like, what happened? You make the money and you do it this way, and then all of a sudden you can't figure it out? We can't just rely on the billionaires. They're the ones who got us here to begin with. We apparently can't rely on the genius investors who became super rich. So, like, what do we do? I guess I'm frustrated. Anyways, but I will catch you guys in the next video. Please remember to like. If you like these videos where we talk about things that are incredibly important to the safety and future of the American people, it's important. Okay, and this is how did this guy keep getting in? How did this guy keep getting Social Security numbers? Did you notice in the article they're not talking about basically that it was a fake Social Security number? Now, they didn't say that in the article. What they said was it was a Social Security number that had not been assigned to him by the Commissioner of Social Security. They didn't say fake Social Security number. They said that it had not been assigned to him. Usually that means not only was it created, it existed, it's there, and then he, as a person who was here illegally, got a hold of it and used it. I'm bothered by that. I'm an unhappy customer. Is I guess the way I would put it. All right, the next video specifically, we're going to be talking about 5 ways, and this is how I think. I don't think like, how can we make Social Security better? Right now, I'm not in that mode. My brain's like, what are 5 ways that they could do bad things to Social Security that would like ruin it overnight? Because that's the world we live in right now. It's like every damn night, every news cycle we get, it's like, guess what? They're going to do this. And then like some of the stuff, they just wind that shit back. They're like, and then they walk it back, little Michael Jackson walk right there. They walk it back. But to me, it's just like, I don't know. To me, I'm not in the mode where everybody's thinking about how to save it. We're in the mode of like, what are they going to come out with next? That's what I've been asked about recently. So I'm going to do the video on that. Okay. I will catch you in the next video. Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA. If you like these videos, please remember to like, please remember to subscribe, head over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw some stars up there. You get to choose how many. Of course, they kind of get me going in the morning when you leave some good ones, but up to you. Also, please remember Monday and Thursday, I go live to answer questions for free. You get 5 to 7 minutes with a question. I try to help out the general public because a lot of you need it. You need it. All right. I will catch you all a little bit later. Oh, also mini contract below for the private sessions. You guys know what they are. You got a really tough situation. You get 1 hour from my brain. I tell you the timeline, what you should do throughout it. I'll catch you later. See you in about 5 minutes, and we'll go from there. Attorney Walter Hnot, thank you so much. And please be safe. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.